We often romanticize the past, picturing medieval nobles living lives of effortless splendor. We imagine their days filled with feasts, tournaments, and courtly intrigue, a world insulated from the harsh realities faced by the common person. But tonight, we'll explore a bitter paradox hidden within that tapestry of wealth. We journey back to a time when the very symbols of power and prosperity, the rich foods and fine wines, could become the source of an agony so profound it could bring the most powerful lord to his knees, revealing that the gilded cage of privilege often contained its own secret and terrible curse. Before we step into this story, let's create a space for it to unfold. I invite you to dim the lights around you, letting the sharp edges of the modern world soften into shadow. If you can, turn on a fan to create a gentle, steady hum, a soft sound that can help anchor your thoughts and quiet the day's distractions. Allow yourself to settle into comfort, to let your breathing slow and deepen. This isn't just about listening. It's about creating a tranquil vessel, preparing your mind to travel back across the centuries with me tonight. It means the world to me that you choose to spend your time here, in our quiet corner of history. If these stories bring you a measure of calm or a spark of fascination, I would be so grateful if you take a moment to leave a like or subscribe to the channel. Each click is like a small beacon in the vast digital sea, helping others who are searching for this kind of content to find their way here. Your support is the quiet encouragement that fuels every late night of research and writing. And for that, I am truly thankful. One of my favorite things is to imagine where you all are as you listen. It creates a wonderful sense of a global tapestry, a community connected by these shared moments. Someone might be tuning in as the sun rises over their city, while another listens under a canopy of stars on the other side of the world. So, if you're so inclined, I'd love for you to drop a comment with your location and what time it is for you. It's a joy to see our community come to life and connect through these journeys into the past. And with that, our journey begins. Let your imagination awaken. You find yourself materializing not in your own time, but in the year 1398. England is a kingdom, simmering with tension under the increasingly tyrannical rule of Richard Roman II. You are in a grand stone manor house, a bastion of noble power, nestled deep within the verdant, rolling hills of the English countryside. Here, shielded by thick walls and immense privilege, you are about to experience a day in the life of its master. The first light of morning filters through the narrow glass of the chamber windows, casting long, pale stripes across the heavy tapestries that line the stone walls. You stir from a deep slumber, stretching your limbs beneath a comforting weight of fine wool blankets. You are cocooned in the unparalleled luxury of a feather-stuffed mattress, a privilege so rare and costly that only the wealthiest nobles could ever dream of it. This soft bed is a world away from the harsh realities of the common folk who serve you. For the peasants who toil on your vast estate, the night offers little comfort. They sleep upon rough pallets stuffed with straw, often laid directly on the damp, packed earth floors of their small wattle and daub cottages. Their rest is a constant battle against the seeping cold and the persistent company of fleas and other vermin that make their homes in the straw. But you are Lord William Thornbrook, one of the richest and most powerful nobles in the county, and such discomforts are utterly foreign to you. The good news upon waking is that you are a man of immense wealth and influence, your power nearly absolute within your own domain. The bad news arrives with a sudden, vicious intensity that obliterates all sense of comfort. A searing, fiery agony erupts in your big toe, a pain so sharp and blinding it feels, as though a blacksmith is hammering a red-hot spike directly into the joint. Every slight movement, every twitch, sends waves of pure torment surging through your leg. stealing your breath away. You are in the grips of gout, an affliction the physicians call the disease of kings. Your day begins not with the crow of the rooster, but with the silent, efficient movements of servants at your bedside, while the peasants who work your land have been toiling since before dawn, milking cows and tending to the fields. You have slept well past sunrise. Your entire morning ritual is a testament to a life lived in a completely different reality, one where personal effort is a choice, not a necessity. Your head servant, Thomas, approaches with a polished silver basin of warm, rose-scented water for you to wash your hands and face. He moves with a practiced deference, his every action designed to be unobtrusive. Behind him, two younger servants hold up your attire for the day. A fine wool tunic dyed a deep, expensive crimson, and lined with silk imported from the far-off lands of the East. The cost of this single garment could feed one of your tenant families for an entire year. Thomas bows low. "My lord," he begins, his voice a respectful murmur. "The steward needs your approval for the feast preparations." But you cut him off with a pained groan that seems torn from the very depths of your being. The administrative details of your estate are meaningless in the face of this overwhelming agony. Send for the physician you command, your voice strained and tight. "My foot, it's the gout again." Your personal suffering instantly takes precedence over all other matters of the household. At your words, a look of weary resignation crosses Thomas's face. He has seen this before and knows all too well what it signifies. Days of pain for you and a household thrown into disarray, catering to the needs of its afflicted master. "Right away, my lord," he says, his voice soft with a mixture of pity and professional duty. He knows the foul-smelling poultices, the bitter medicines, and the short temper that will now dominate life within the manor. You try to push yourself up against the voluminous pillows, but the simple motion sends a jolt of pain so intense through your foot that you gasp aloud. You glance down and see that the joint of your big toe has swollen to the size of a ripe plum. The skin is stretched taut and shiny, glowing with an angry red hue that speaks of the fire raging beneath. It is so exquisitely tender that you know even the light weight of a linen sheet would feel like an instrument of torture. This, you think with a surge of bitter resentment, is the hidden price of your station. This is the secret tax levied upon your body for a life of decadent ease. While the peasants on your lands may suffer from the harshness of the elements or the pangs of hunger, you face a different, more insidious kind of torment. Your suffering is not born of deprivation, but of a relentless, celebrated excess that has turned your own body against you. The common folk might envy your abundant feasts, your warm stone house, and your fine, soft clothing, but they can never see this part of your life. They cannot imagine that the very luxuries that define your power are also the agents of your misery. They see the magnificent castle, but they are blind to the personal torture chamber hidden within its walls, a chamber created by the very richness of your diet and the leisure of your lifestyle. The heavy chamber door swings open, and Master Gilbert, your physician, shuffles in. He is a man whose somber, academic presence stands in stark contrast to the village healers who treat your tenants with herbs and folk remedies. Master Gilbert studied at the great medical school in Montpellier, France, and his knowledge is based on the classical texts of ancient masters. His services are a luxury, costing more per visit than a peasant might earn in 2 months. "My lord," Master Gilbert says, his voice grave as he sets down his leather satchel of medical instruments. His practiced eyes take in the scene, your pained expression, the careful positioning of your leg, and he nods slowly. "The gout has returned. I see it is not a question, but a somber confirmation. He has fought this battle with you before and knows the enemy intimately." He approaches the bed with the cautious respect one affords a dangerous adversary. Like a bad penny, it always turns up, you grimace, your patience already worn thin by the pain. What cursed thing have I eaten this time? Gilbert the physician strokes his gray beard, a thoughtful gesture, as he examines your swollen foot from a distance, sparing you the agony of his touch. He observes the taut, shiny skin and the deep red color that speaks of the intense inflammation, the fire burning within the joint. As I have explained before, my lord, he begins, his tone calm and scholarly, your body's health is governed by the four humors. This affliction is a sign of a distinct imbalance. In your case, a surfeit of phlegm, which is a cold and moist humor, has settled in your joint. There, far from the warmth of your heart, it becomes corrupt and causes this great pain and swelling. But the underlying cause, he hesitates, knowing his answer will not be welcome. Yes, you interrupt, your voice sharp with impatience. You have heard this sermon many times before, and have no desire to hear it again. My rich foods and my fine wines. It is the same lecture every time. Gilbert, you wave a dismissive hand, a gesture that sends another throb of pain through your foot. You know the cause of your suffering, yet you feel trapped in the habits and expectations that come with your station, a gilded cage of your own making. The physician nods, his expression unchanging in the face of your outburst, a calmness born of long experience with powerful men in pain. Indeed, my lord, your system is overwhelmed by the richness of your diet, the endless parade of game birds, organ meats, and sweet wines produces a surfeit of what we call a uric humor. Think of it as a gritty sediment in your blood. As it travels, this substance settles in the coolest parts of the body, the feet being furthest from the heart's warmth, where it hardens into tiny, sharp crystals that wage war upon your joints. What Master Gilbert doesn't say, a truth that hangs heavy and unspoken in the chamber, is the alarming frequency of these attacks. You keep your own silent, dreadful count. Last year, you endured 3 such sieges. This year, it is only autumn, and this is already the 4th. Each episode lingers longer, the pain digs deeper, and the recovery is more sluggish and incomplete than the last. A cold dread coils in your stomach. You are fighting a losing battle against your own body, and the intervals of peace are growing dangerously short. You have seen the final chapter of this dreadful story play out in others of your rank. You recall Baron Fitzwilliam, a man who once commanded tournaments, now a hobbled wreck, whose hands have become gnarled claws. He is disfigured by what the physicians call tophi grotesque, chalky lumps that erupt under the skin, twisting his fingers and toes into useless, monstrous shapes. The fear of that future, of being unable to hold a sword, or the reins of your horse, is a terror far more profound than any battlefield threat. The cruel irony of your position settles upon you like a shroud. While your peasants are out in the fields, their bodies lean and strengthened by constant labor, and a simple diet of bread and vegetables, you are laid low by the very symbols of your success. Your life of relative leisure and sumptuous food, the roasted swan and sugared jellies that proclaim your status to the world, is the very thing that is slowly and methodically poisoning you from within. Your privilege has become your poison. Master Gilbert turns to his satchel and begins his work. He pulls out a small mortar and pestle and several packets of dried herbs. The air fills with the pungent, earthy scent of meadowsweet and willow bark as he begins to grind them into a fine powder. The rhythmic scrape of the pestle against the stone is a focused, purposeful sound in the quiet room. He is preparing a poultice, a traditional remedy, intended to cool the fiery heat that has taken root in your joint and draw out the inflammation. After creating a thick paste with wine vinegar, he procures a small, dark vial stoppered with wax. And for the pain, he says, his voice low and serious, a tincture of poppy, This is the most precious and dangerous medicine in his collection, distilled from poppy pods grown in distant lands. It is a powerful weapon against agony, capable of dulling even the most excruciating torment. But he handles it with a reverence that acknowledges its power to both heal and destroy. You are all too familiar with the other price this relief carries. You have seen fellow noblemen fall under the spell of the poppy's embrace, their minds becoming clouded and their fortunes dwindling as they chase the fleeting peace it provides. You think of Sir John of Oakhaven, once a man of sharp wit, now a hollowed-out shell, who wanders his own halls in a perpetual daze, his entire existence consumed by a craving for the costly substance. The tincture is a siren's call, offering escape from one prison while building another around the mind. I have also brought this, Master Gilbert continues, producing a small leather pouch containing dried bulbs. Autumn crocus, he presents it as a piece of esoteric wisdom, a remedy favored by the learned physicians of the Byzantine Empire. It must be used with great caution, he warns, his gaze direct. Too much causes a violent purging of the stomach, and worse, but the correct dose can dramatically shorten the duration of your suffering. It is a potent but demanding medicine, what neither you nor your learned physician can possibly comprehend is that this humble plant contains a secret that science will only unlock hundreds of years in the future. The autumn crocus holds a compound that will one day be named colchicine, a powerful anti-inflammatory that specifically targets the agonizing inflammation caused by uric acid crystals. The Byzantine doctors, through centuries of careful observation, had stumbled upon one of history's most effective gout treatments, wielding its power without ever understanding the true source of its magic. This practical knowledge of the autumn crocus was a testament to how medical wisdom traveled in your era. It was a thread of truth passed along trade routes, shared in letters between physicians in Padua and Paris, and translated from Greek and Arabic texts. Its use was not based on the grand theory of humors, but on simple, undeniable observation, for reasons no one could explain. It worked. It was a piece of inherited, empirical wisdom in a world still struggling to understand the body's complex mysteries. While the physician meticulously prepares his remedies, your gaze drifts out the narrow window, past the stone sill and across your domain. You see the sprawling lands that are the source of your wealth and power the fields and forests, the villages and streams. You see the peasants toiling under the autumn sun, their lives inextricably linked to yours. They are the engine of your prosperity, and you are the master of their world, a responsibility that feels particularly heavy from the confines of your sict. This is the essence of your station. You collect taxes and rents from your tenants. You protect them from outlaws and invaders with your soldiers, and you sit as judge in the manorial court to settle their disputes. In return for this order and protection, they produce the wealth that allows you to live in splendor. It is a fundamental, symbiotic contract, their labor for your leadership, the very bedrock upon which your feudal world is built. Your eyes follow the fluid, practiced movements of the harvesters in the fields below. You see the men swinging their scythes in a steady rhythm, their bodies lean and hardened by years of physical toil. You see the women gathering the wheat into sheaves, their motions efficient and strong. None of them, you would wager your title, have ever been crippled by the rich man's disease. A bitter pang, something akin to envy for their physical resilience, strikes you. Here, my Lord Master Gilbert's voice pulls you back. Drink this first. He hands you a small pewter cup filled with a dark, viscous liquid. The bitter, earthy taste of poppy floods your mouth, a flavor you have come to associate with the promise of blessed relief. You force yourself to swallow, knowing that the unpleasant taste is the price of the warm numbness that will soon begin to spread through your body, dulling the sharp edges of your agony. Next comes the poultice. Master Gilbert gently applies the cool, fragrant herb paste to your inflamed joint. The immediate sensation of cold on your fiery hot skin is a small, welcome blessing. He then wraps your foot in clean linen bandages to hold the paste in place. The autumn crocus I have mixed with wine, he explains, offering a second cup. You drink it as instructed, grimacing at the strange, earthy flavor, and then lie back against your pillows, waiting for the remedies to wage their war against your pain. Rest now, my Lord Master Gilbert advises, his work complete. No rich foods today. I will instruct the kitchens to prepare barley water, a little bread, and perhaps some boiled chicken without the skin this evening. This strict, simple diet is as crucial as any of his medicines. I will return at dusk to check on your progress, he says with a formal bow, reinforcing his authority and his commitment to your care. As the physician packs his satchel, you gesture wearily to Thomas, who has been waiting patiently by the door. Pay Master Gilbert his fee. The servant steps forward and discreetly hands the physician a small, heavy pouch of coins. The transaction is a quiet symbol of your status, a payment that could feed a tenant's family for months, exchanged for a single visit. Master Gilbert bows his thanks and departs, leaving you alone in the quiet chamber with your thoughts and your pain. Through the window, you can hear the rhythmic swish of scythes cutting through wheat and the faint, melodic sound of a harvest song rising from the fields. The sounds of life and labor feel a world away from the stillness of your sick room. You think of the hard lives of your tenants, the constant worry over food and weather, the vulnerability to sickness and injury, the relentless physical toll that grinds down their bodies over time. And yet, here you lie in your fine bed, in your stone manor, crippled by a pain born directly from privilege. You understand now that while your hardships are different from theirs, they are no less real. They face the external struggles of deprivation, while you face the internal rebellion of excess. It is a profound and humbling realization. Wealth can shield you from hunger, but it cannot shield you from suffering itself. The poppy tincture begins to work its magic, wrapping your thoughts in a soft, hazy cotton and dulling the sharp edges of your pain. The torment recedes, becoming a distant, manageable throb as you drift toward the welcome oblivion of sleep. A final question forms in your mind. Is this gout truly the worst thing about being rich, or is it merely the physical manifestation of a deeper truth that a life of excess, no matter how enviable it appears, carries its own inevitable punishment? The poppy tincture begins its slow, methodical work, not as a sudden silencing of the pain, but as a creeping warmth that spreads from your chest outwards. It blunts the sharp edges of agony, transforming the searing torment in your foot into a distant, manageable throb. Your thoughts, which had been racing in a frantic, painful loop, are gently wrapped in a comforting fog. The world softens and stills as the potent medicine coaxes you toward the welcome oblivion of sleep, a temporary armistice in the war against your own body. As you drift on the edge of consciousness, a disquieting question surfaces from the depths of your hazy mind. Is this affliction merely a cruel turn of fate, a random torment visited upon you, or is it something more profound, a physical manifestation of a moral imbalance? You wonder if your body is keeping a bitter, honest ledger of your life of excess. Perhaps this pain is not a curse, but a form of justice, a punishment for the very abundance and privilege that defines your existence in a world where so many have so little. You awaken not to a sound, but to a change in the light. The sun has tracked its way across the sky, and the long, slanted beams of late afternoon now paint the stone floor in warm, golden hues. Hours have passed in a deep, medicated slumber. Tentatively, you assess the state of your foot. The raging inferno has passed, leaving in its wake a dull, rhythmic ache. It is a painful but manageable echo of the earlier agony. A profound sense of relief washes over you. The worst of the siege is over, and your mind, free from the poppy's haze, is clear once more. Just as you begin to savor this small victory, your servant, Thomas, appears with a tray. On it sits a humble meal, a cup of bland barley water, and a thick slice of plain, dark bread. This is the diet prescribed by your physician, a stark and immediate reminder of your condition. This simple fare, fit for a peasant, is a humbling contrast to the rich and varied dishes that usually grace your table. For now, your rank and wealth afford you no greater luxury than this medicinal meal. Your ordinary meals are a theatrical performance of your status. Your table groans under the weight of roasted game birds, rich meat pies, and fish swimming in sauces, thick with cream and expensive imported spices. There are sweet custards and jellies, and confections made with sugar, a substance so precious it is used as currency in some parts of the world. Each dish is a declaration of your power and prosperity, designed to impress your guests and affirm your place in the social hierarchy. As you consume the simple bread and water, a bitter understanding settles upon you. The very abundance that is the cornerstone of your social standing is precisely what has brought you to this state of pain and helplessness. You now see with painful clarity that the human body, especially one accustomed to the sedentary lifestyle of the nobility, was not designed to process such relentless luxury. Your privilege has become the very source of your suffering, a cruel and inescapable paradox. You picture your peasants, their bodies hardened by a lifetime of physical labor. Their simple diet of grains, vegetables, and occasional meat is fuel for their work, burned away by the demands of their day. Their bodies are efficient machines, processing what they consume with little left over to cause trouble. Your body, in contrast, has become a vessel for excess. The rich foods and fine wines accumulate within you. The corrupting sediment that forms the sharp crystals, now torturing your joints. Thomas enters your chamber again, his expression hesitant. "My lord," he begins, "the steward still requires your instructions for tomorrow's feast. The merchant from London has arrived with the spices you ordered. The mundane details of household management feel like a cruel intrusion on your suffering. A feast, normally a symbol of your power, now seems like a looming threat, a social obligation that is in direct conflict with the needs of your body. Tell him to proceed as planned. You command, your voice strained. But then, a new thought, born of your present misery, takes hold. However, you add, "I want some simpler dishes added to the table, more fish, and tell the cooks to use less wine in the sauces." Thomas looks surprised by this departure from tradition, but he nods obediently. It is a small act of rebellion against the tyranny of expectation, a first tentative step toward a different way of living. You consider feigning illness to avoid the feast altogether, but you know you cannot. The guest of honor is a powerful baron, a potential ally whose support you need in these uncertain political times. To be absent from your own high table would be a grave insult, a sign of weakness that could damage your standing and reputation. And so, you make a difficult choice. You will endure the physical pain to avoid the political consequences. After Thomas leaves, you carefully swing your legs over the side of the bed. Each movement is a negotiation with the pain in your toe, but it is a manageable ache now, not the searing agony of before. You stand gingerly, keeping all your weight on your good foot, and then step your way to the window. From here, you can look down upon the inner courtyard of your manor, a hive of activity in preparation for the coming feast. You watch as servants unload barrels of ale from a heavy cart and smoke billows from the kitchen buildings, where cooks are already preparing for the next day's spectacle. It takes a small army of people working constantly to maintain your way of life, to ensure your comfort, and to project the image of power and prosperity that befits your noble station. You are the center of this universe of labor, the reason for all this frantic activity. And this, you realize, is another burden of your wealth. The constant, relentless need to display your status through consumption and spectacle. Your table must always be laden with food. Your clothes must be of the finest materials, and your home must impress all who enter it. Anything less would suggest a decline in your fortunes, an invitation for rivals to sense weakness and challenge your position. It is a performance that never ends. You think of the king himself, who is said to suffer from a similar affliction, so severe at times that he cannot walk or ride. Yet, his position demands that he continue to feast and drink, to project an image of robust health and power, no matter his personal suffering. He too is trapped in the same gilded cage as you, a prisoner of the very status he commands. The disease of kings is indeed a fitting name for this ailment that marks its victims as members of an elite but suffering class. Evening approaches, and Master Gilbert returns as promised. He examines your foot, nodding with satisfaction at the reduced swelling. The remedies have helped, he observes. The crisis is passing. But, my lord, to prevent future attacks, you must, he trails off, knowing you can finish the sentence for him. The immediate battle may be won, but the war against this chronic affliction is far from over. Less rich food, less wine, you say, the words of familiar and unwelcome refrain. More walking, more water, precisely, the physician agrees. Particularly, you must avoid organ, meat's liver, kidneys, sweetbreads, limit the game birds, and reduce your consumption of wine, especially the sweet varieties. This is sound advice, born not of modern science, but of centuries of careful observation by physicians who noticed the clear patterns that linked certain foods to this painful disease. I will try, you promise, and you mean it at that moment. But both you and Master Gilbert know the immense difficulty of your situation. Your entire social life, the very fabric of your political power, is woven around the act of feasting and drinking. To refuse a dish or a cup of wine is not merely a personal choice. It is a public statement, an act of withdrawal that can be interpreted as an insult or a sign of weakness in a world that is always watching. After the physician leaves, your wife, Lady Eleonora, comes to your chamber while you manage the external affairs of your estate. She is the undisputed master of the household, a vast and complex operation that she oversees with a sharp mind and a firm hand from before dawn until long after dusk. She is not just your wife, she is your partner in the great enterprise of maintaining your family's power and position. William, she says, her voice a soothing balm of competence and care. How are you feeling? Better, you admit. Gilbert's remedies helped, she sighs, a sound of both sympathy and frustration. This is the second attack this month. You must take better care. Coming from a noble family herself, she understands the pressures of your rank, but she is also a pragmatist who sees the toll it is taking on you. She sits carefully on the edge of your bed. The feast tomorrow, she continues. I have already instructed the cooks to prepare a separate plate for you with simpler foods. In this single statement, she demonstrates both her foresight and her role as your most trusted ally. She has anticipated the problem and provided a practical solution that will allow you to fulfill your duties as host without further aggravating your condition. Her care is a shield against the demands of your world. Her practical foresight touches you, prompting an idea that moves beyond mere gratitude for a single meal. Thank you, my wife, you say, your voice earnest. I have been thinking. This moderation should not be a temporary fix, a remedy only for when I am in pain. You meet her intelligent gaze. voicing the radical thought that has taken root in your suffering. What if we were to change how we eat every day? What if we made a simpler table our custom? More fish and fowl, fewer of the heavy roasted meats, and rich sauces. It is a revolutionary proposal, a direct challenge to the very definition of noble living. She raises a single, elegant eyebrow, a flicker of amusement in her eyes. Shall we become like the monastics? Then she jests softly. A life of plain fare and prayer. A weak laugh escapes you, but it jostles your foot, turning into a sharp wince. Not so extreme, you clarify, but a step toward refinement, not just richness. Her expression turns contemplative as she grasps the strategic possibility. She knows you are trendsetters in the region. Your choices are copied. This could be framed not as a loss, but as a new, more discerning form of fashion. It could set a new standard, she muses, her mind already navigating the social currents. To value quality over sheer, wasteful abundance, she sees the double benefit. It would save a considerable sum that could be used to improve the estate, she adds. Ever the pragmatist, a simpler lifestyle would also offer a welcome reprieve to lesser nobles who struggle to afford the ruinous expense of constant feasting. And so, a pact is formed. You will try this new, more moderate path, a quiet rebellion against the tyranny of conspicuous consumption. As night falls, servants move silently through the chamber, bringing candles to hold the darkness at bay. They are not the cheap tallow rushlights of the poor, which sputter and spew foul, greasy smoke, but tall, clean burning tapers of pure beeswax. This simple act of lighting a room is a profound luxury. The wax is costly, but its warm, honey-scented glow is a world away from the dim, smoky squalor that descends upon your tenants' cottages after sunset. The ability to command light is one of the clearest lines dividing your world from theirs. You lie in your comfortable bed, once again reflecting on the immense gulf that separates your life from that of a peasant. They rise with the sun to a life of physical toil. You rise when you choose to a life of politics and estate management. They eat simple pottage and dark bread to survive. You feast on rich foods that your body can no longer process. Their lives are a constant struggle against the elements and hunger. Yours is a struggle against the consequences of privilege. The chasm between your lived experiences seems wider than an ocean. Yet, you are beginning to perceive a grim parallel in your hardships. They face the ever-present threats of starvation, exposure to the elements, and swift, brutal diseases with little hope of effective care. You, in turn, face the slow poison of gout, the risk of obesity, and the treacherous, deadly game of political maneuvering that defines your rank. You realize that no station in life offers a true sanctuary from suffering. It merely changes the face of the enemy. Hardship, you now understand, is a universal human condition. Perhaps this is the ultimate wisdom to be found in your torment. It is a humbling lesson that no amount of wealth or power can shield you from the fundamental frailties of the human body. It has its own laws, its own limits, and it pays no heed to a lord's title or the fullness of his purse. Excess, you now see with absolute clarity, even when it is admired and expected as a sign of status, will always, in the end, demand its own painful price. Your body is simply keeping an honest account as the comforting embrace of sleep finally begins to claim you. A firm resolution takes shape in your mind. You will find a better way. You will not simply be a passive victim of your station, consumed by the very privileges you enjoy. You will learn to navigate the treacherous currents of your world, to maintain your position without sacrificing your health. It is a vow to find a sustainable balance in a world where status is defined by a level of consumption that is, for you, quite literally killing you. The morning of the feast dawns pale and misty. You awaken to find your foot improved, the angry, burning pain having subsided to a dull ache. But today brings a challenge that is not physical but social. You must attend the feast and play the part of the gracious, powerful host. In your world, reputation is a fragile and priceless commodity, more valuable than land or gold. Any hint of weakness, any public failure, could ignite whispers of decline that would spread like wildfire through the courts of the nobility. The process of dressing is a slow and careful negotiation with your pain. Servants help you into your finest garments, a tunic of deep blue wool from Flanders, a belt with heavy silver buckles, and soft leather shoes. One of these shoes has been cleverly modified by a skilled craftsman. A slit has been cut, and a gusset of supple leather sewn in, creating a small pocket of space to accommodate your swollen toe without inflicting the torment of pressure. It is a small but essential piece of deception. My walking staff you command, and Thomas hurries to fetch the polished oak stick, its top crowned with an ornate silver knob. While many nobles carry such staffs as a symbol of their authority and status, today yours serves a far more practical purpose. It will be your discreet support, allowing you to move with a semblance of your normal dignity, and to conceal the limp that would otherwise betray your weakness. It is a prop in your performance of lordship. You make your way carefully down the stone staircase, each step a deliberate act of will against the protests of your foot. Below, the great hall is being transformed. Servants are spreading fresh rushes, mixed with fragrant herbs like lavender across the floor. When crushed underfoot, these herbs will release their pleasant scent, a practical measure to mask the inevitable odors of a large feast and many bodies gathered in one space. The air is already thick with anticipation. Your steward, Henry, approaches with a respectful bow. He is the man who manages the entire estate, a position of immense responsibility. My lord, he reports, the preparations are well in hand. The Baron and his party should arrive within the hour. He gestures toward your seat at the high table. Your chair has been cushioned, as you requested, and Lady Eleonora has given the kitchen precise instructions regarding your meal. Every detail has been attended to, allowing you to focus on the performance ahead. Just then, the clear, sharp sound of horns echoes from the courtyard outside, announcing the arrival of the Baron's party. You instinctively straighten your shoulders, your grip tightening on your staff. You compose your features into a mask of calm, welcoming authority. The pain in your foot is a dull, steady throb now, a manageable fire that you must simply ignore. The time for reflection is over. The curtain is rising on the day's political theater. Lady Eleonora joins you at the entrance, a vision of power and grace, in a gown of deep green silk and gold embroidery. Together, you stand framed in the massive stone archway, presenting a perfect, united image of the prosperity and stability that your station requires. You are Lord and Lady Thornbrook, a formidable partnership, ready to receive your honored guests. Your combined presence is a carefully crafted statement of your enduring influence. Baron Radcliffe's party enters the courtyard with a clatter of hooves and a flutter of colorful banners. The Baron himself is a large, imposing man, his face ruddy from a life of wind and wine. He dismounts with a heavy grunt that you recognize instantly, the sound of a man hiding his own joint pains. He strides forward, arms outstretched in a show of hearty friendship, a booming performance that you must now match in kind. The formal greetings that follow are an intricate and essential ritual. Every member of the Baron's party, from his wife and children down to his personal guards, is acknowledged according to their precise rank and station. This is not mere politeness. It is the reinforcement of the social order, a clear delineation of the hierarchies that govern every interaction in your world. To neglect these rituals would be to invite chaos and disrespect. As the guests are shown to their chambers to refresh themselves, you return to the great hall. The brief period of standing and formal greeting has taken its toll, and the pain in your foot is intensifying. But you betray nothing. You move through the hall with an air of calm command, your face a mask of noble composure. In your world, to show pain is to show weakness, and weakness is a vulnerability that your ambitious peers would be all too quick to exploit. Just before the guests return for the feast, Lady Eleonora appears at your side. She leans in close, her voice a private murmur. You are in pain, she observes, her perceptive eyes seeing past your carefully constructed facade. From a small pouch at her belt, she discreetly produces a tiny vial of poppy tincture. Master Gilbert left this for you, she whispers. Just enough to dull the edge, not enough to cloud your mind. You accept it with a silent, grateful nod, another secret shared between you in this public performance of power. The guests begin to file into the hall, taking their places according to the strict protocols of rank. The feast begins not with food, but with a ceremonial washing of hands. Servants move among the tables with silver basins of rose, scented water, and clean linen towels. This is both a practical act of hygiene before a meal eaten largely with the fingers, and a symbolic ritual marking the formal transition from the everyday world into the special, communal space of the feast. The first course is served, a grand procession of dishes for the guests. Rich meat pastries, roasted fowl, and hearty soups. At your place, however, the offerings are deliberately stark. The kitchen, following Lady Eleonora's precise instructions, has sent a plate of poached chicken, with the skin removed, a slice of fine white bread, and a small portion of herb-cooked fish. It is a meal of exceptional quality, compared to peasant, but in this context of lavish display, its simplicity is a clear and defiant statement of medical necessity, setting you apart from the indulgence around you. Baron Radcliffe, seated to your right, notices the difference immediately. Tearing into a rich pastry with gusto, he gestures toward your plate with his knife. A light supper, Lord Thornbrook, he asks, his voice booming with good-natured curiosity. Has your physician put you on a penitent's diet? You offer a polite, practiced smile, a mask of calm diplomacy, a temporary caution. Baron, Master Gilbert advises moderation with certain foods to keep the body's humors in balance. It is the standard, acceptable explanation for a condition well known among your peers. The Baron lets out a knowing grunt of understanding. The cursed gout, he says, lowering his voice slightly in a gesture of shared confidence. The affliction of our class, is it not? He raises his wine cup in a half salute. I have had a touch of it myself these past few years. A damnable thing, indeed. You nod in agreement, relieved by his candidness. The shared enemy of your bodies forges a quick and unexpected bond, a moment of genuine connection, amidst the performative revelry of the feast. As the feast wears on, you notice you are not alone in your quiet moderation. You see how some of the older knights, men known for their battlefield prowess, discreetly wave away the servant offering to refill their wine cup. You observe another lord, carefully trimming the fat from his portion of roasted meat. They, too, have learned the painful lessons that gout teaches. Their subtle acts of self-preservation are a silent testament to the hidden suffering that often accompanies the privileges of your shared station. Between the courses, while minstrels fill the hall with music, you turn to the true purpose of the evening. I understand the king has levied a new tax on wool exports, you say, to Baron Radcliffe, steering the conversation to matters of mutual concern. Your estates, like his, derive significant wealth from the wool trade with Flanders. Indeed, the Baron scowls, his jovial mood vanishing, and at the worst possible time. It is a foolish move that will only enrich the king's unworthy favorites. This begins a long and vital discussion of politics and trade, the real currency exchanged at such gatherings, as the main courses are cleared to make way for sweet custards and fruits, preserved in honey. Your foot begins to throb with renewed intensity. Despite the cushioned chair and the poppy tincture, the long hours of sitting upright and the strain of constant conversation have taken their toll. The dull ache is building back into a sharp, insistent pain. You subtly shift your position, trying to find a measure of relief, but the fire in your joint is being steadily rekindled by the demands of your duties as host. Lady Eleonora, ever attuned to your state, notices the slight tightening of your jaw. With a subtle signal to the chief minstrel, she orchestrates a diversion. The minstrel launches into a loud, comical ballad that captures the hall's attention, filling it with laughter. Under the cover of this distraction, she leans toward you. Perhaps a moment of cool air. My lord, she suggests quietly. The tale will amuse them for some time. Her quick thinking provides you with a precious opportunity to escape without drawing undue notice. You accept her offer gratefully. Using your staff, you rise and make your way to a side door that leads to a small, walled garden. The cool night air is a blessed relief on your feverish skin. You should return, you tell her once seated on a stone bench. Our guests will notice she shakes her head. In a moment, tell me truly, how bad is the pain you sigh? Letting the mask of composure fall away in the privacy of the garden. It is worsening, you admit. Even with all our care, it is flaring again. Yet you refuse her offer to summon the physician. A host must not burden his guests with his own weakness. You return to the hall, timing your entrance to a lull in the entertainment. Few seem to have noticed your brief absence. You resume your seat at the high table, your face once again a mask of calm authority. You engage in conversation. You laugh at the jester's antics. You fulfill all the obligations of a gracious host. All the while, the fire in your foot burns hotter, a secret agony hidden behind a wall of noble etiquette and sheer willpower. The performance of lordship continues, despite the personal cost. Finally, the baron rises, signaling the formal conclusion of the feast. A magnificent evening. Lord Thornbrook, he booms, his voice thick with wine. Your hospitality is as generous as your reputation. This is your cue. The ritual obligations have been fulfilled, and you can now withdraw without offense. You honor us with your presence. Baron, you reply, rising to your feet despite the fresh wave of pain the movement causes. The long ordeal is almost over. The journey back to your chamber is an agonizing one. Each step up the stone staircase sends a spike of pain shooting up your leg. The poppy tincture has long since worn off, and you lean heavily on your staff and the arm of your loyal servant, Thomas. By the time you reach the privacy of your room, you are breathing heavily, not from exertion, but from the sustained effort of concealing your suffering for so many hours. The mask is finally off, and the full force of the pain descends upon you. Thomas and another servant help you undress, removing the fine clothes and the modified shoe. The sight of your foot is shocking. It is now even more swollen, the skin stretched tight and gleaming and angry, purplish red. Shall I send for Master Gilbert? My Lord Thomas asks, his voice filled with genuine concern. Yes, you reply, your voice a hoarse whisper. You are too tired and in too much pain to maintain any pretense of strength. Send for him now. While you wait, you lie back against the pillows, your throbbing foot elevated. The feast was a resounding success. The alliance with the Baron is secure, and your reputation for hospitality is enhanced. But this political victory was purchased with the currency of your own physical torment. This is the stark reality of your world. A constant, brutal negotiation between social obligation and personal suffering. You suffer from too much in a world where most suffer from too little. Master Gilbert arrives, his face grave as he assesses your condition. The feast, I presume, he says, the question purely rhetorical. You can only nod wearily. I followed your advice, as best I could, you murmur. He sighs, a sound of professional frustration. The body needs time to heal. My lord, each attack makes the next more likely. He begins preparing afresh, stronger poultice, the pungent smell of herbs, once again filling the chamber. As he sets about trying to undo the damage of the night's excesses, his words underscore the true nature of your challenge. It is not simply about recovering from this attack, but about preventing the next one. And that, you realize with a sinking heart, will require more than a few days of careful eating. It will mean confronting the fundamental expectations and habits that define your very position in society. It is a battle not just for your health, but against the ingrained culture of your entire class. The physician leaves you with a stronger dose of poppy tincture to see you through the night. As you take the bitter medicine, you reflect on the day's fragile victory. You fulfilled your duties, strengthened an alliance, and maintained your reputation, but at a great physical cost. Perhaps this is the true art of nobility, not merely wielding power, but skillfully navigating the painful sacrifices and constraints that come with it, a constant balancing act on the knife's edge of ruin. The next morning, you awaken to find the pain has once again subsided to a manageable ache. From the courtyard below, you can hear the sounds of the Baron's party, preparing to depart. Normally, you would be there to bid them a formal farewell, but your condition provides you with a socially acceptable excuse. Gout, being so common among the wealthy, is one of the few ailments that allows a lord to breach etiquette without losing face. It is, ironically, a mark of your station. Lady Eleonora, having managed the formal farewells with her customary grace, joins you in your chamber. She reports that the Baron sends his regards and hopes for your swift recovery. Then she shares an intriguing piece of news. He mentioned, she says, that he suffers from similar attacks and that he has been consulting a Jewish physician from York, who recommended a surprising remedy. This catches your immediate attention. Cherries, she says. The physician told him to eat cherries. This fascinates you. While often subject to prejudice, Jewish doctors are sought after by those who can afford them. They are known to possess medical knowledge from the great centers of learning in the Islamic world, traditions that often lie outside the rigid humoral theories taught in Christian universities. The idea of a simple fruit as a remedy is a novel one, and it sparks a flicker of hope.